You're listening to the Best Morning Routine Ever podcast, the show that proves no one stumbles upon success ever. With your host, Lou Need. Every Mondays and Thursdays, we deliver cold hard evidence behind the power of a robust morning routine. Get ready to be transformed by the renewal of your mind.
Hello, morning enthusiasts. Welcome to the Best Morning Routine Ever podcast. I am your host, Lou Need Lewis. Really quick, I want to share with you my new favorite innovative company that is changing the way we as professionals can network and date. That's right, I said dating. Let me ask you, are you a single professional? Do you find it hard to connect with others? Because if we're being honest, it's lonely at the top, isn't it? Would you like to network and mingle with single professionals face-to-face and one-on-one despite being apart and social distancing? Well, you are not alone. I've got just the company for you. HEHE Match, a leading, innovative, high-tech dating matchmaking company headquartered in Toronto, is supporting the professional singles community by launching a series of complimentary virtual speed dating events over the next few months. And get this, the next event is July 26th. You heard me correctly. Free speed dating. Now, in my single days, I have been to a few speed dating events, and let me tell ya, they are super fun, but they were never free or cheap. What HEHE Match is offering would have cost you an upward of $100, but you are getting it all for free. You don't want to miss this. Spots are limited. Register now and arrive on time to avoid getting shut out of this amazing opportunity to connect with a soulmate. Simply go to www.complimentaryvirtualspeeddating.eventbrite.ca or go to the website www.hehematch.com. That's www.hehematch.com to grab your free ticket. I'll see you in there. And today I have the honor of introducing a very special guest to the show, Jay Hodge. Jay is the founder and president of Jay Hodge and Associate, a lean management consulting firm specializing in strategy deployment, lean leadership development, and the implementation of lean management systems in organizations across multiple industries. Jay is the author of the Lean Treasure Chest and Photos of Fatherhood. He developed the dynamic element engagement system to effectively drive cultural transformation within any organization. Jay, welcome to the show.
Well, thank you, Lenita. I appreciate you having me on.
Yes, it is my pleasure. Looking forward to our chat. Go ahead and tell us about your journey, your background that led you to where you are today.
Well, my background is I grew up in rural Indiana, so I'm somewhat of a rural farm kid. I tell my clients if they ever actually saw me at home in my coveralls driving my tractor, they would probably have second guessed actually hiring me. But I spent most of my time in Indiana. After the high school, I went into the Marine Corps, so I am a Marine. So when we start talking about discipline and everything later in the program, I'm sure that the Marines had something to do with my the discipline that I've been blessed with. I have been married to my beautiful, gorgeous wife, who is literally 90% of our marriage. She gets all the credit. We've been married for 33 years. I've got 3 beautiful and very, very successful children. You look at my career, it's kind of a whirlwind between the Marines. And I went back to college after the Marines with a wife and 2 kids. We lived in a 576 square foot apartment for 3 years. So it was a challenge. But I think that challenge has brought us to the place where we appreciate what we have so much more because we know where we came from. So between college, spent years at General Motors, spent years at Toyota, Caterpillar. I moved into a vice president role with a manufacturing company down south. And then about 6 years ago, I moved into healthcare with what I do, taking a lot of the lean principles and concepts and moved into healthcare. And then 4 years ago, started my own company. And I say my company, it's actually God's company. He's just allowed me to run it. And it's been very, very successful in spite of me, I guess is the easiest way to say it. So
quite a journey.
It is quite a journey.
Did you do the full 20 in the Marines?
No, I did 5 plus 3. I spent 5 years in and spent quite a bit of time away from my family, and realized my oldest son is visually impaired. He's blind, and I realized that I think he needed me more than the Marines did at that point. So after 5 years, I decided to go ahead and get out and finish my degree, and it was the best decision. So,
yeah, putting the family first. You truly are a servant leader yourself. It's really fascinating to hear your story and how you put God first in Him directing your path in your life. It's refreshing.
Well, like I said, I'm blessed, and the greatest leader example we've ever got is portrayed in the Bible, and you read him his words every single day. It's hard not to understand what servant leadership is about when you really watch what Christ did throughout his life.
Mm-hmm. And then that is the segue to lean leader, right? Because I know you define a lean leader as first being a servant, someone who can put aside themselves and serve a greater mission and serve others. So tell us about lean leadership.
Sure. So lean, let me define lean first. A lot of people have a misconception that lean is all about reducing headcount. If anybody has ever told you that, they have no idea what they're talking about. They've read way too many books that portray lean the wrong way. Lean is about value, and it's about creating value by understanding your processes and eliminating waste. It is about the customer. It's about the patient. It's about your community. It's about your processes. And when you talk about becoming a lean leader has to understand that, and to be very honest, in any leadership situation, I've worked with many CEOs and presidents of hospitals and manufacturing organizations. I can't recall the last time I was standing out on the manufacturing floor with a CEO who had a weld gun in his hand, or a CEO of a hospital who was drawing blood in the ED. Leaders understand that their job is to set the direction and enable their teams to succeed. The teams are the ones who actually drive organizations to excellence. It's the leader's job to make sure that they have everything they need to do to get there and to achieve it. So a lean leader basically does that, but also sets the direction and sets a strategy and aligns the team, communicates effectively on a daily basis, sets performance measures and then monitors them, on an ongoing daily basis. A lean leader, to be honest, a lean leader is someone who's in the operations every single day with the team. They're not sitting in an ivory tower or some glass surrounded office, that the people never see. A lean leader is engaged with their teams every day.
And that will build cohesiveness a lot faster.
Absolutely. I worked for a leader at General Motors, and he made a practice of every day spending time every single day walking around the plant, shaking people's hands, asking about their families and kids. He knew their families' names. And I tell you what, you talk about loyalty, you talk about a group of people that would go the extra mile every single day. That's what that developed. In the Marines, I had a really, really good example. In the Marines, I was out on the flight line. So my role in the Marines, I was avionics technician for F-18 fighter jets. And I was stationed in Washington, D.C. at Andrews Air Force Base. And me and my cohort were out working on a aircraft in the middle of the night. And it was snowing and it was miserable and cold. And I've got my head inside a couple compartments, and I reach back for a tool. And, my partner's supposed to hand me the tool, and he doesn't hand it to me. So finally I get a little frustrated, and I turn around and I look, and there's my lieutenant colonel standing right there looking through the toolbox to hand it to me.
Wow.
And I was like, oh, hello, sir. and that made an impression on me, because he didn't have to be there at, 11 o'clock at night.
Right.
But he was a leader that engaged his team. So he was standing out there in the cold, miserable condition with his little corporal and his two corporals, and he was part of the team. So that builds loyalty, trust, faith, confidence in a team like nothing else.
Morale is what I'm thinking of as I hear you speak.
Oh, yep.
And it's good for retention rate. It's good to keep people around because they believe in you and you believe in them. It really is a domino effect of to help with productivity and with performance within the team.
Absolutely. You look at it's like they say, and you know this very, very well. People don't leave organizations; they leave people.
Right.
And one of the systems I work with or created is called the dynamic elemental engagement. And one of the elements of that system is the fact that people have to trust their leaders. They have to be confident in their leaders. And if you trust and have a loyalty to your leader, you're not going to leave the organization for $2 more an hour.
For sure.
Absolutely. Or $10,000 more a year. You're going to be somewhere where you can succeed and you're supported.
And then you're adding value. And then that's what I like about your definition of lean is it's about creating value and understanding what that process is, because our sole purpose is to serve other God's children, right? It's to add value to other people's lives. And if you find a place where the team is in alignment with that core value, you honestly, I agree with you, don't have a reason to leave.
Right. That's exactly right. And when you start talking about value, especially like in a hospital, I ask this question. So I work with a hospital, a phenomenal hospital out in Kansas. It's the Olathe Medical Center, and phenomenal team. And when I got there, one of the things I always like to ask people is, that hospital, the first building in that complex was built in 1987. And I always ask the question, and I start with the senior leadership, how many patients has this building treated? And I think it was in 33 years. Just take a guess. What do you think? In 33 years, it's about a 200-bed hospital. How many patients do you think that hospital has treated?
In 33 years? I would say a couple of thousands.
Okay. You're absolutely 100% wrong, and that's okay, because everybody gets the answer wrong. The answer is 0.
No. Wow.
What was my question? My question was, how many patients has that building treated? The building has never treated a single patient. No one's ever walked up to the outside of that brick building with chest pain, put their chest up against the building and walked away and go, wow, that was great treatment.
Right.
They come there for the people. It's the people that make it a hospital. So when you start to understand that, then it's a lot easier for us to understand what our patients value. One of the things they value is the people that make the hospital. And it's the same thing in a manufacturing organization. Toyota isn't made up of a bunch of robots. Toyota has a lot of the same robots as a lot of other manufacturing companies. They use the same type of concrete on the floors. They use the same type of beams in their ceilings. It's not the building, it's the people that make the difference.
Yeah, and you think about a vehicle, right? We think of a vehicle. We engage with the external pieces of it, right? What we see, the dashboard, right. But we don't look into the external characteristic that we see, that we interact with. It's actually the internal characteristics that makes the car work.
That's right.
That's your metaphor here, and I really like that. And it really
right. Well, when you look at it, the lean methodology, it's about understanding the processes and who understands the processes better. Is it the senior leaders, or is it the team that actually complete the processes every single day? It's the teams.
Yeah.
And when we start talking about lean management systems, a lot of people think when I make that or use that term, that it's about throwing a system out there that senior leaders and directors are using on a daily basis. You're missing the point 100%. It's the team members that are involved in this also. When we start talking about experts in an organization, it's like I said, CEOs aren't drawing blood. CEOs aren't holding a weld gun, welding a large mining truck together at Caterpillar. It's the staff. And so they understand the processes better. I love to use an example, and I'll use it on you again because you're a great student. Lean is about processes, understanding our processes. And we all think we understand our processes at a very, very granular level, but we don't. We don't understand them as well as we think we do. And that's where we get in trouble. A lot of the problems, a lot of the opportunities exist at the micro level detail within the processes.
Mm-hmm.
So brushing your teeth. Everybody I talk to, everybody I train brushes their teeth multiple times a day, hopefully.
Yeah.
If you don't raise your hand, please, when we're doing training. So walk me through the process. So you wake up in the morning for the best morning ever. You walk into your bathroom. You're getting ready to brush your teeth. You're standing at the counter. Walk me through the process for brushing your teeth.
Yeah, absolutely. I put on mouthwash. I do it before I brush my teeth. I know people do it after. I use mouthwash. I hold that, goggle that for about a minute or two. And then I get my toothbrush out, put the toothpaste in.
Okay, stop right there. All right. So let's back up. Where is your mouthwash?
In my mouth.
No, where's the bottle?
On the counter.
Okay. Is there a cap on it?
Yeah, I cap it back up. So just in case I spill it.
If you didn't, you have to take the cap off first before you actually put it in your mouth, right?
Yeah.
And then you have to put the cap back on. And when you grab your toothbrush, where's your toothbrush?
On the sink.
Okay, so you have to grab your toothbrush. You have to grab where's your toothpaste?
In a little cup standing right next to the toothbrush.
Does it have a cap on it, or do you leave the cap off all the time?
I put the cap, but the cap is always on.
Okay, so what you're telling me is that if you don't take the cap off of your mouthwash and if you don't take the cap off your toothpaste, you're not going to effectively brush your teeth, right?
Correct.
But you didn't actually mention either one of those steps within your process. So what I try to get people to understand is that the success of a process is in the micro level details. And what we don't take into account is that every process is made up of thousands of micro level processes. And we forget these little teeny weeny details that make up a process. But that's where problems and opportunities, where value and waste actually exist, is understanding processes at that level. And trust me, everybody forgets to take the cap off the toothpaste, so you're just fine.
Yeah, it's really fascinating because you're right, because it's so it's habitual. We're a habitual creature, and so because it became habit and ingrained in me, I don't think too much about it.
That's right.
Go ahead.
No, and we do that in every process we do, whether it's at work or whether at home, healthcare, manufacturing, service, government, we fall into the same trap.
And so how can we eliminate wasting time and energy within the processes to be more efficient and more productive?
One of the easiest ways to do that, and there's several tools within the lean methodology that you can use. I like to use what's called a value stream map, or a process level map. And that's where you literally map out an entire process to understand where your opportunities are. This is inevitable. I've had this happen so many times, and it's actually a fun thing to watch. Is I'll grab a group of people that work within a process, and we'll literally map it out. We map it out on the wall. We draw out every step of the process. And then once we finish it, I'll bring a different group of people from the same process in, and you'll hear comments like, well, we don't do it like that, or you missed this step, or we do that actually over here. And what that tells me is that everybody thinks that we understand our processes, but in reality, what's happening is this person does the process this way. This person does the process this way. This person doesn't even do this step in the process. And all of a sudden we think about the fact that we're having quality issues, we're having process issues, we're having flow issues, we're having efficiency issues, we're working overtime, we're getting quality product rejects, all of these different things. And all of a sudden we start to realize why. It's because we don't have a process. And I ask people this. So you tell me how we do this. And then I'll ask someone else, you tell me how we do this. And they tell me different answers. Okay, so does that mean we have a standard? And they say, well, yes, we have a standard. I'm like, no, we don't. Because you're following different processes. A standard says this is the one way that we do it. Now, we're always looking for ways to improvement, but this is the one way we do it. And everybody's doing it. I walked into hospitals in the ED and ask multiple nurses, so how do you do this process? And I get multiple answers. And in a hospital environment, that concerns me. And it's the same in every hospital I work in. In fact, it's the same in every manufacturing environment I work in. You get people doing things different ways, which is driving the variability. And where did the quality and quality defects come from? well, they're a result of variability within our process.
That makes a lot of sense. And I can imagine everyone thinks they do know what the process is. And what ends up happening is just like HR manuals, right? They get written up. You got the step-by-step direction, turn-by-turn directions. You got the map. It's mapped out. But people look at it one time and then figured, I got it. I know how to do this. And then they create their own processes, internal, innate, right? Their own individual processes on how they do things because they think that's how they work. That's how they can be effective. They can, be more productive by doing these 2 steps together and doing those 3 later.
Right.
And so I can imagine this would be very hard to clean up.
It is, but that's why you involve the experts, the team members, and you involve everybody. I mean, you involve the people on the front line, you involve their managers, the supervisors, directors. Everybody has to be on the same page. But what happens is actually pretty dramatic, and that's where you start to see a cultural transformation. And that's really my passion, is cultural transformation. This is what happens is you've got people that have been working in a process for so long, and they've got ideas. And, there's probably a lot of leaders out there that are shaking their head going, wow, has he been looking in our windows? And they have these ideas, but the ideas sometimes get pushed aside. And so after a while, instead of raising their hand saying they have an idea, is they simply stop raising their hands and they just start using Band-Aids or workarounds and to get through the process. So instead of pulling the andon or calling for help, they just figure a way to get around it, to get about their business. And what ends up happening is you end up with 20, 30, 40 workarounds that just become the process.
Yep.
That literally becomes the process. We create our own process with the Band-Aids, workarounds, and temporary measures.
Yeah, and it's so easy to do that. So tell us, how do you transform an organization's culture from reactive to proactive?
Start with leadership.
Okay.
Start with leadership. It starts and ends with leadership. If I go into an organization, and one of the first discussions I have is with the CEO or president. And I say, you're going to have to be involved in this process on a daily basis. If you're not willing to do that, then you should probably find another consultant, because it's not going to work. It may work and it may be superficial because you're involved in the first, couple months. But after a while, when your presence starts to diminish, it will just slowly fade away. It'll be like a flavor of the month. So I always start with leadership, and I start with leadership by letting them know how critical that they are, and training them what servant leadership looks like, and how to communicate effectively. When we say communicate effectively, I don't mean necessarily how to communicate like from a board fashion or communicate to your peers. I'm talking about communicating to the teams, because one of the biggest struggles, and you've probably seen this multiple times, is when the CEO or the VPs walk out on the floor or walk through the hospital floors. Everyone's like, oh, the suits are out. Put on your best face, put on the good show, make sure we're doing everything right. That's the exact opposite of what we want. We want them to see the senior leaders as assets. We want to see them as part of the team. And so getting leaders to understand that their presence and their behavior, the way they communicate, that's always the beginning point. But then working with the teams so that they understand that they are absolutely valued in this process. Nobody likes to have someone walk out into your process and say, this is how we're going to do it. And I've seen multiple organizations where you have a group of lean experts or Lean Six Sigma experts, which are great qualifications and great knowledge. But for someone to walk out into your process and say, this is the best way to do it, this is how we're going to do it, and no one has ever even included you in the decisions, it doesn't work. And then I've had multiple engineers and hired multiple engineers. And I say, you know what? If you want to actually be effective at what you do, when you design something, go out on the floor and talk to the people who are actually going to use it. Get their input so that when you go out and pilot it and you start using and running tests on it, they're actually engaged in the process. They don't see you as an adversary. They see you as an asset and part of their team.
Yeah. Yeah. And I can imagine this, because change management is challenging. Nobody likes change, right? Even in our own personal lives. And this is the embedded, deep ingrained. You're going in and changing the whole personality of the company, the culture of the company. How long does that process take, and what feedback do you get?
To be very honest, a lot of it depends upon the leadership that's currently in the organization. If you have a very engaged group of leaders, a cultural transformation should take probably 3 years. Now, if you've got a organization with leaders that are not engaged, it could take 5 easily. Because when you start talking about a cultural transformation, you have to think about this. A culture is not defined, should never be defined by the leader of the organization. It should be defined by the people in the organization. So when you have a cultural transformation it starts with the leaders. And to be very honest, it takes the teams a while to jump on board, simply because they've probably been exposed to so many flavors of the month that in the back of their mind, they're thinking, okay, we're going to do this for 6 months. And then leaders are going to get excited about something else, and we're going to try something else. So I'll act like I'm engaged. I'll act like I'm involved. But I know that it's going to change in 6 months to a year. Well, when that doesn't happen, all of a sudden, a year down the road, people go, okay, all right, so this is actually for real. Well, so they start to get engaged, and you've got 2 groups of people in the organization. One group of people will jump on it and be 100% driven and into it. Then you have another group of people that will be, well, I kind of liked it when it was all fluffy and everything was good, and I could use everything as an excuse, and basically I could spray myself with Teflon every single day and blame everybody else for problems. They will probably end up exiting the organization because there's accountability that's driven in the organization, and that's okay. That's just part of the process. There's other opportunities for them. But then you have, 2-3 years down the road, all of a sudden the habits. And when you start talking about culture is a culmination of the habits that we display every single day. And it takes a while to form a habit. You know this very, very well. It takes a while to develop habits. You start talking about the best morning ever. You don't have the best morning ever without having defined habits. And then 3-4 years down the road, all of a sudden, this just becomes part of how we operate. This isn't what we do. This is who we are. And you've got, in most organizations, after 5 years, you've probably turned 30 to 60% of the team members over just because of attrition, new people coming on, growth, other people taking different opportunities outside the company. So you've got basically anywhere from 30 to 60% new group of employees. And at that point, these are the people that have been trained. This is how we do it every single day. We're not retraining them. This is how we've always done it. And so they're basically latched on from the moment they walked in. And 5 years down the road, when the organization or the CEO leaves, nothing changes because the culture itself defines the team defines the culture, not the senior leader. So it just. Yeah, that's where the culture transformation takes place.
And habits are deeply ingrained, and they're that way because it becomes like autopilot, right? That's how we operate. Our habits are designed to protect us from too many stimuli all at once, right? So that we can actually be more efficient.
Yep, that's exactly right.
Be quicker. So let's segue right into that. Tell us about your morning routine. How do you get up, dress up, and show up? What are your healthy habits?
Well, sure. Well, you already know how I brush my teeth, so I won't go into that. So. So if, when we start talking about the best morning ever, I'm very, very disciplined in my mornings simply because I agree. I think your best morning ever, though, always starts with a good night's sleep.
Of course.
And I think a lot of people struggle with this, especially if you're like me, you're a consultant and you travel quite a bit. It's easy to stay up till 11, 12 o'clock doing work. And I think your best morning ever starts with a good night's sleep. So I always try to get to bed, between 10 and 10:30 every night, give myself 6 hours, 7 hours sleep. I wake up in the morning. The very first thing when I wake up, I always, my alarm for my phone goes off, and it's my song is something called Redeemed by Big Daddy Weave. Mm-hmm. It's a song that basically starts me in the morning and says, you know what? My Savior lives and he has redeemed me. So that's the very first thing that goes through my mind in the morning. So when I wake up, I'm reminded of that every single day. And I always stop and I give thanks for something that the Lord has done in my life. because there's an endless list of things that he's done in my life every single day. So I always start with thinking that. I wake up in the morning. I listen to a audible book, maybe a Charles Swindoll, a Tony Evans book, a Christian book, while I'm working out and while I'm getting ready. And I always work out in the morning. That's the best way to wake up my mind and wake up my body. So I do that. And then before I go into the office, I always do my scripture reading and I journal. I've been journaling for almost 5 years now. And it's not a long, lengthy 3-page journal. It's about a half a page journal. Talks about, the previous day and what was accomplished and how the Lord blessed me and how my family's doing. And what I really like about the journaling is that I love to go back and I look back a year or 6 months and I see the things that God has done in my life and the things that I've forgotten about, because, our lives are so filled with so many different things. And I love to go back and I look at my journals and I realize how many things God has done, how many challenges he's overcome, or the strength that he's given me. One of the coolest things about the journals is that when I pass away, they're to be given to my children.
Nice.
And my children can go through and read them and realize that Dad struggled with a lot of the same things and the issues that they did. And they'll see, my comments about them and how much I love them. But it's just a great gift. So I do my scripture reading, I do my journal, I do my prayers. And then I always go to work. I always get to the office about an hour before everybody else. And I call this my professional stretching. Before I work out, I always stretch. So before I go into work, I like to do my professional stretching. What that hour does is it allows me to get my thoughts together. It allows me to prepare for success. And it's like they say, you plan to fail, or when you fail to plan, you plan to fail, literally.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
So I spend that hour basically planning out my day, looking at the week, looking at what has to take place throughout the day. And then I get to the start line and, the whistle goes off and I'm charging ahead. So
it's fantastic. I love how you feed the mind first thing in the morning with the word of God, and also with the audiobook. It's like stimulating content. And then you're grateful too, to add on to that. You carry that attitude of gratitude with you throughout the day. It's really amazing. The things that I'm hearing with successful entrepreneurs like yourself, and you mimic that. I heard that from you today as well. And working out, getting the blood flow, waking the body up. It's a perfect way to do it.
Yep, definitely.
It's a great morning routine. Thank you for sharing. I really enjoy having this talk with you.
Oh, well, I've enjoyed it immensely. Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, just a brief recap for our listeners. Lean, defined by Jay, is about creating value and your processes, understanding your processes to eliminate waste. I got caught as a student during this show where I had the answers wrong, but we forget the little steps, the minute steps that actually add value to the bigger picture. And that's what we do. We really don't think about it because it's become ingrained. It become habitual. And in a lot of the steps that we miss really are pivotal, and can make and break whether we are productive or the organization culture is productive. Tell us, how can we connect with you?
Sure, absolutely. You can go to our company website. It's www.JayHodgeASSOC.com, or you can reach me via email. It's JAY.HODGEASSOC.com. Or if people want to reach out to my company phone, they can call 812-789-6404 and call me anytime or go to my company website. You'll understand a lot more about me. And like I said, if I was to put describe me in one thing, it's I'm blessed. Amen.
Amen. The Morning Enthusiast, you've heard it here first. This has been Jay Hodge. Thank you so much, Jay.
Thank you. You have a great day, okay?
You as well. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
I want to share with you my new favorite innovative company that is changing the way we as professionals can network and date. That's right. I said dating. Let me ask you, are you a single professional? Do you find it hard to connect with others? Because if we're being honest, it's lonely at the top, isn't it? Would you like to network and mingle with single professionals face-to-face and one-on-one despite being apart and social distancing? Well, you are not alone. I've got just the company for you. HEHE Match, a leading, innovative, high-tech dating matchmaking company headquartered in Toronto, is supporting the professional singles community by launching a series of complimentary virtual speed dating events over the next few months. And get this, the next event is July 26th. You heard me correctly. Free speed dating. Now, in my single days, I have been to a few speed dating events, and let me tell ya, they are super fun, but they were never free or cheap. What HEHE Match is offering would have cost you an upward of $100, but you are getting it all for free. You don't want to miss this. Spots are limited. Register now and arrive on time to avoid getting shut out of this amazing opportunity to connect with a soulmate. Simply go to www.complimentaryvirtualspeeddating.eventbrite.ca or go to the website www.hehematch.com. That's www.hehematch.com to grab your free ticket. I'll see you in there.
All right, morning enthusiasts, that's it for today's show. Thank you for tuning in. If you love the Best Morning Routine Ever podcast, we'd love to hear from you. So go ahead and subscribe, rate, and give a review on iTunes or Google Play. While you're at it, tell a friend about the show. Be sure to visit bestmorningroutineever.com and our Facebook group to join the conversation, access the show notes, and discover our fantastic free bonus content. Until next time,